Yeah, I think so. All right, if you guys want to wheel over, or come over rather, sorry. We're going to get started. I'm going to get a chair, so feel free to need to take a seat, and then we're going to talk air pistol, and then
I got it so tight I can't even use it. Must be Lucy, not in this case. Okay.
ready?
Yes.
I'm going to orient myself this way. I'll come over. I got you.
I can do it.
You sure? All right, appreciate it. Okay, so first off, I want to go around real quick and just get everybody introduced to everybody else. So I already said my name's Zane Jones, and I'm going to be the lead instructor for this evening. We have 3 other coaches / instructors. Walking away over there is Dane Hogle. Dane Hogle is a close friend of mine. I've known him for over 11 years, and he is the pistol director for the Ohio Rifle Pistol Association. Chris is in the Ohio Rifle Pistol Association as well. He's right there. Right there. That's Chris Chisholm. I've also known him for a long time, shot with him for a long time. And then I haven't shot with him as long, and then raise your hand, that's Dave Foreman. Dave Foreman is a tremendous competitor, overall good guy, and I have known him for almost over 20 years, right? So a lot of close connections. So tonight is the Therapeutic Air Pistol Open House. This is our opportunity to introduce the sport of air pistol to y'all in advance of a league that we're going to start next year, right? So it's the opportunity to come out, check it out, see if it's for you, and if it's for you, sign up. So now that I've introduced the instructors, if you wouldn't mind, I'll start back here, and then we'll just go all the way around and introduce the staff and the competitors as well.
So I'm Jeremy Fitton, co-director of Adaptive Sports Club of Columbus, and help run and manage the programs that we offer here.
And I'm Mary Beth Moore. I manage the programs for Columbus.
This is her building. This is her building.
Me, yes, this is our stuff. So welcome. I appreciate y'all coming out and helping us get this started. Zane and I have been talking about it a long time.
Almost 3 years.
Right, and it's pretty doggone exciting that we're actually going to get to do it.
And we're recording at least this part tonight so that we can show it to other people and weren't able to make it to the open house.
Moisha Applebaum.
Okay.
I'm Peter Murphy. Call me whatever. Okay.
I'll probably call you Peter Murphy.
That's fine.
My name's Dave Anders. I live out in the Keith area.
Okay, Dave.
Brad Burns, staff and competitor. Actually thinks it's great. Always want to try shooting, but always afraid to shoot myself. So
You will not
it's
shoot.
a good
This is a very safe activity. You will not shoot yourself, sir. Welcome, Ted. So happy. What branch of service? Air Force. Excellent.
So was it Ted?
Ted. And I mean, probably should raise our hand. So, Marine back there, and Marine. So, sorry. Yeah. Yourself, sir? Daniel. Welcome. And Luke. All right. So, I mean, if you couldn't tell from the instructors, the shooting community is pretty tight knit. Like small group of individuals, usually men, but not always. And so that's why it's important to sort of get to know each other as we shoot. All right. Let me start. So I'm going to start with what is air pistol. So the sport of 10-meter air pistol, I think, can be described 3 ways. So the first is that I think the best way to describe it is that it's a martial art. Probably the best way, meaning that it takes an activity that has its roots in battle or in war, and in a more peaceful society has adapted it to the sporting arena, and then also recognizes that it's an art, and there is an art component to doing something, meaning that it is a connection between your body and it's a connection between your mind. The other thing is that it's a widely recognized and participated Olympic sport. So when you go out there today and you shoot a 9 or you shoot a 10 or you shoot a 7, you're doing so under pretty much the same conditions, not pretty much, exactly the same conditions on the same equipment that someone who was competing in the Olympics is doing. So your 10 today is going to be just as valid as a 10 in the Olympics, which I think is pretty cool, right? Because it means that you can take this from passive fun activity all the way to the highest level. So you can shoot either the Olympics or the Paralympics. And they have their governing bodies. And then lastly, it's a therapeutic activity. We're calling this therapeutic air pistol because I want to make very clear from the outset that the purpose behind this and all of this equipment and all that stuff back there is essentially therapy. It's the sport, and I'll mention this later, is easy to do but hard to master. And just like anything, once you get into that level of mastery, you're really, I mean, this could be darts, it could be badminton, it could be whatever. This is just a means or method to instill, in some ways, personal growth and self-discipline. So why air pistol? Why not darts or badminton or the other sports that I named? Why are we bringing all this fancy equipment in to show you? The first is that it's a pretty tremendous adaptive sport. So as you've seen pictures of it or the pictures in the flyer, air pistol is not a high adrenaline sport. It isn't downhill skiing or anything like that. It is a sport that requires, at a very minimum, sufficient eyesight, grip strength, and dexterity to raise approximately 2-pound pistol and center it on the target and slowly pull the trigger in a way that ensures a pretty decent shot. That being said, so there's no standing that needs to be required, although most shooters stand. Here, and we'll talk about adaptation in a minute, you can shoot one-handed, you can shoot stabilized, you can shoot two-handed, you can shoot sitting, you can shoot standing, whatever, or you can not shoot and you can just dry fire, right? And I'll get to that here in a minute. We're going to spend a pretty significant amount of time dry firing today. I mentioned that it is easy to learn and hard to grow. So here is the secret to shooting air pistol perfectly. I will give it to you, and you can take it, you can put it in your pocket, and hold it for the rest of your life. In order to shoot successfully and to win Olympic gold, the only thing that you need to do is to put the sights at a frame of reference where you know you can ensure that it's going to hit a 10 and pull the trigger without moving the sights. That will put a 10 on the target, and if you can do that 60 times in a row, you'll walk away with Olympic gold. So it's about doing something well once and then repeating it over the course of fire. Here, we're just going to shoot as many shots as we can get in that feels comfortable. An Olympic course of fire is either 40 or 60 shots, depending on which discipline that you're doing. So it's a long, drawn-out affair for Olympians, and when you shoot in leagues, we're probably going to shoot around 30 or 40 shots, depending on time. We have a lot of expertise in the room. So myself, in addition to, I guess I should mention this, I work for the City of Columbus. I'm the Veteran Services Coordinator. I'm also the Americans with Disabilities Coordinator. I'm also a former team captain for the Marine Corps Reserve Shooting Team and current competitor for the Marine Corps Reserve Shooting Team. Dane was a summer shooter on the Marine Corps Reserve Shooting Team. And all of these three gentlemen compete in NRA, the National Rifle Association, or civilian marksmanship competition at a level at or achieving master, right? So I think we got experts, and I think some of you are master in a couple different disciplines, right? So, and master, for those of you who don't know, there's a numerical component to master. If someone can shoot 97 points out of 100, meaning they shoot 100 shots, or they shoot 10 shots, and all of them are going to be 9s except for 3, or all of them are going to be 10s except for 3 9s. That's the level that Dane back there has been at, and it's the level that we all sort of achieved. The purpose of today, other than learning the sport, is going to be to just learn and have fun. There's no competition today. I'm not recording your scores. You can record them mentally if you want, or you can write them down or have your coach write them down. But there are some rules of the road, and these are going to be the rules of the road for the day and then the rules of the road for the league. So the first is safety. Every safety, just like it would be in the military, sir, like every range is going to begin with a safety brief given by the range officer of the tower. That's going to be me. We are also going to have one-on-one coaches, so every competitor is going to be assigned a coach, and we're going to go through an instruction block, and then we're going to go through what I guess I would refer to as an execution block or a stage block. Positivity. So in the shooting sports, there's no room for negativity. It's contagious, and it affects the balance of other shooters. So I've been competing with the three of these gentlemen in very high-pressure scenarios and situations, and not at any point in our competition has any one of them ever said anything negative to me or me say anything negative to them. I always want to beat them, but Dane would never make fun of me while shooting. I would never make fun of him, so that's a rule that we have. It's always positive. And you always make fun, but behind my back, and I would never know. And then the words that we use in the shooting sports, or the words that we never should use, is try and can't. So if something you need improvement on, you just simply ask your coach, how can I improve on this, right? You don't, and then you never say the word, I'm trying, right? You're making an attempt, or you're going to get there eventually. So we build that sort of positive self-image, and that is going to help us coach our subconscious to be able to shoot an effective sports product. And then the last piece that you're always learning. So ask questions. What does that equipment do? What is a 10 ring? What's the course of fire? How do I start? How do I load? Different stuff like that, and we'll go through that. So that is, in general, what is and why is air pistol. So I'm going to pause there, and then I'm going to walk through every single piece of equipment on this table you're going to be using today, and I'm going to talk about it briefly. So does anybody have any questions at this point? No? You guys are just ready to rock and roll, get shooting? All right. Okay, so I'm gonna face this way, and then I'm gonna go down right now. So we have a couple different things. So we'll talk about the obvious first. So the first is an air pistol. So this is the model of air pistol that we purchased for the program. This is a Hammerly AP20. The benefit of the Hammerly AP20 is that it makes a really good club gun. Very, very, very accurate. The trigger is pretty decent. I was shooting 10s the other day. These guys were shooting 10s on it here this afternoon. The benefit is that it is ambidextrous. So I can, with very little ability, I can switch it from right hand, left hand, or no. The difference being that there would be a palm shelf on whichever hand you typically shoot with. So if I'm right-handed, which I am, this palm shelf will support my hand while I'm holding it in the firing position. But that can be completely removed, or it can be switched for a left-handed shooter. Is anybody a left-handed shooter? All right, there's always one, right? All right, so we have a left-handed gun. And Luke, you're left-handed as well? All right, so we have, we can swap them over, but we already have a left-handed pistol available. This one, right here. Each one of these is denoted with a shroud of a different color. So that's just like, if we get in the league, hey, I always use green. I like green. Or I like purple, I like pink, whatever, black. Most important piece of equipment that you're going to use today is this. This is going to be your empty chamber indicator. When you are not actively firing, or the gun is placed, or excuse me, not gun, we'll talk about vernacular. The air pistol is placed on the deck. You are simply going to take this out when you're firing. When you're not firing, you, or if you need your help with your coach, is simply going to insert the safety empty chamber indicator so that everyone can observe that this air pistol does not have a pellet in it and is not loaded. The Hammerly AP20 uses a pre-charged air system. So every single one, when you go to the table, is going to have one of these. This is an air tank, and this is your meter. So this is, you screw this in, and it shows you what its current pressurization are. If you wanted to commence firing, you would simply unscrew that, and then screw it on here. Right, and that's what propels the pellet. These are charged using this piece of equipment, which is just a scuba tank filled with air. Right, you screw it on there, tighten it up, close it up, and then you're good to go. All right, so that is the Hammerly AP20 and the empty chamber indicator. The second most important piece of equipment that you're going to have is going to be your eye protection. Everybody who is on the line, including coaches, are going to have eye protection available. And in addition, we also have these blinders. So most people will shoot with one eye closed, right? And your shooter is going to go through what is your dominant hand, what is your dominant eye, and that's going to help determine your stance. But when you're doing it, you would just simply, your non-open eye, the one that you would squint with, instead of squinting, you would just place this here, close the blinder, so that way you don't stress your whole face out, and you can shoot with both eyes open, but just one is obscured. And all of you will have one of those on the table while you're doing that. We have two target systems available. As you can see, we have two electronic target systems, and we have two paper. Obviously, this is more fun. It's like a video game, right? So this is just as fun. If you're a new shooter, or we're still getting you acquainted, we're going to start on paper to ensure that you can hit paper. And then once you get hit paper, we're going to put you on that, and you get to apply your shots. It's pretty cool. So this is the target. I'm going to pass this paper around so that you can review. The paper targets have concentric scoring rings. These are some pre-shot targets that Chris shot. So here, you don't make fun of people, but you can maybe point out his good shots for him and say good job. Usually on each target, you're going to put, this is a very good target by the way, 5, 10, and 9. On most paper targets, you're going to be placing 5 pellets. And the reason for that is because they are very easy to score with 5, and they are very difficult to score if you 10. So when we start competing, we are going to shoot in 5 strings, 5 shot strings. And then we will call the line cold. We go forward, inspect our target, pull our target, replace if we have to, or we'll just zero out on the electronic. So that's paper targets. A lot of people shot on paper targets, there's nothing wrong with them, they're fantastic. The other piece of equipment that we're very, very excited about is the electronic target system. So this is an in-band air target system. As you can see, the front looks very, very similar to the paper target that you have there. The only difference, there's a black here, there are no concentric scoring rings. That's because the concentric scoring rings are determined electronically. So when you place a pellet, and you place a pellet right in the 10, which is exactly what you're going to do, that pellet will travel through and it will make, in some way, an acoustic signature, and that acoustic signature is determined by a computer as to where it impacted on the paper. That's then communicated to the computer, and it's displayed for you to review. These are shoot-through systems, so your pellet is actually going to travel through and through the back, and you don't need to worry about that because we have a built-in pellet trap on the pellet stands. They're very high-tech pellet stands. I built them out of duct tape and wood. So. The last piece of equipment that I will mention until I ask if anybody forgot is the backstop. So the backstop is made by Creedmoor. It's a very, very heavy nylon. You will know when you shot it because it will be very, very loud because it's hitting a curtain at a very high rate of speed. If you hit in the box, or actually in any of the boxes, whether they're electronic, you're not going to really hear much. It's actually pretty quiet, surprisingly. You're just going to hear this like tunk. You'll hear the sound of the air pistol, and you'll hear the sound of the backstop. But if you hit that, it's going to sound like you hit the wall, even though you didn't. It's pretty crazy. And if you hit the wood, you're going to know you hit the wood, and that's also bad. But the good thing about wood is that it doesn't ricochet, so there's no chance of ricochet. Not that there would be a problem with that because we're all going to wear eye protection. There are a couple other, for your inspection, you guys can look at it, different examples of air pistols that are available. The AP-20s are a great value, but most shooters will start with something like this. So this is a Baikal, this is a Russian IZH-46. This is not, it is used, obviously it's an air pistol, it uses air, but it is not pre-charged, meaning it doesn't use a tank. You simply break it like I just did, don't worry about that. And you charge it, and then you shoot, and then you load it, and then you shoot, okay? For very obvious reasons, it is not preferable for an adaptive situation, right? Because it takes a pretty significant amount of time. You want to come fix this? Oh, no, I legit broke it. Sorry about that. I owe you an Izzy unit. What? Yeah, all right. So we're not shooting that one. I'm going to break this one now. So this is Steyr LP10E. This is probably on the higher end. It's a little bit of an older dated model. The 10 stands for the model number. LP stands for something German. And the E denotes that this is an electronic trigger. So the benefit of electronic trigger is that it's very light, it's very consistent, and you can repeatedly dry fire without having to cock every time, which you would have to do on something like this. Not that that's a big pain in the butt, but you pay for the convenience of that. This is also a compact model, as you can see. Something, well, actually even like this is sort of significantly longer. There are advantages and disadvantages to a compact barrel. The advantage of a compact barrel is that it's typically lighter. It is shorter, so the pellet has less time in the barrel while it's making its way, which means that follow-through is a little bit less important, and some people find them easier to hold up. The downside is that it has a shorter sighting radius, so some people feel as though that's less accurate. I think that's a dubious claim myself personally. I really like the compact barrel. On the highest end, though, you have a Marini. So this is a Marini, and somewhere around here is Dave. Marini as well. This one is a beautiful purple. We like purple because it's a fun color. It's the royal color. And this is also an electronic trigger. So this is just a full-size electronic air pistol. Most of these are going to have little tanks. They all have different tanks, and the tanks all have different fill adapters. But one of the cool things about these is that it will show you how many shots you have left. Right? So this electronic just tells me that I have 140 shots. Like that's an estimate, and it changes by the second. But for the most part, on these, this is going to have that. Just make sure that you are not inspecting. For very clear reasons, you are not inspecting how much you have left in the tank, like this. I don't know why they put it in the front, probably it's the only place they can put it. You probably want to just like look to the side, right? Or put your empty chamber indicator in there. For the Hammerleys, as I said, there is no, you're just kind of like using the force, right? To figure out how much air is in this, but if you really need to know, you would just connect your dial, and that's going to tell you it has 150 psi. These things go up to about 200 psi. That's about where you want them. But you're never going to fill any more than is pressurized in the tank. Nature food. The last thing that I forgot to mention is the pellet itself. So this is a tin of pellets. This holds 500 pellets. This is always a fun moment when you get to rip off the new tin. The pellets are made of lead. So make sure you wash your hands. Everything we already ate. The pellet, and I'll show you. I'll try to take one from one. The pellet has two sides. It kind of looks like a shuttlecock. Okay. Yeah. They are not. So these pellets look kind of like a shuttlecock, and they work kind of like a shuttlecock in the sense that the skirted side is towards the competitor and away from the target, and the flat side goes forward towards the target. So you want to make sure you put that there. And you'll each have these available. So when you come up to the desk up here with your coach, you're going to have a pistol, you are going to have pellets, you're going to have eye protection, and you're going to have fill, and you're going to have hand sanitizer. So we're going to get ready to move to our equipment brief. So we're going to shoot 4 at a time, and we're going to shoot in 30-minute instruction sessions. We're going to move all the way from adaptation, and then we're going to move to trigger, just to get you to feel the weight of the trigger. Then we're going to work stance, grip, then we're going to do dry fire, then we're going to do live fire. All right? But when it comes to safety, so I'll issue the safety brief before we fire. It's very, very simple. The 3 rules that we're going to go by, the first is treat every air pistol as if it were loaded, which means that you're not running around without one of these on behind the line. The barrel is pointed towards the target. When someone is downrange, everyone is backed off away from the range, and you're away from the air pistol. Never point this at anything you don't intend to shoot a pellet towards. You keep your finger, there's no safety on these, so keep your finger off the trigger until you intend to fire. And then the last one, we're going to do COVID mitigation. So there's hand sanitizer there. I'm obviously not wearing a mask right now because I am speaking to you. But when I stop, I'll place a mask on the line between shooter and instructor. I don't want masks on, and the reason I don't is because I need you to speak to each other and understand each other very well. If that makes you uncomfortable, we'll figure something out. But when you step off the line, the mask goes back on, and you're good to go. And then the last thing I'll talk about is adaptation. So my intent and my goal is that every single competitor, and we're going to refer to ourselves as competitors, not shooters, every single competitor will be able to play shots on target. If for whatever reason, as we try and figure out what each person's individual adaptation is, the line coach doesn't feel safe loading the pistol, it's just going to be dry fire today, all right? That is not, obviously there's no offense, there's nothing meant by that, it's just for us to be able to conduct a safe match. I don't think that we're going to have that issue because we have a lot of different things that we can do and get very, very creative. Like it's 2 hands, two people's hands, right? One person pull the trigger, one person hold it. We figure it out, but that's how we're going to do it. So I'm going to start from this side, with you all four, right? The original four. All right, I'm going to introduce myself to you guys here in a minute. Well, actually, you know what? Since we're doing 2 relays, we're going to do 3. So yourself, sir, and you three, with you 3 coaches, I'm going to take you to the line, and then we're going to run through coaching them one-on-one in briefs. So the first 10 minutes is going to be, I'll set a 10-minute timer. You're going to do adaptation for 10 minutes. So with each shooter, bring them up. You can go over equipment again real quick, but just figure out how they're comfortable and able to shoot the shooter and what equipment we might need, whether it's stands or anything like that. Does that sound good? All right, and then after that, we're going to work trigger for 5 minutes. Thank you. We have a lot. We have tons of safety goggles everywhere. All right, yeah, so you guys are up. So the last remaining
Is this going to be more upcoming? Yes. Next year they're going to have a meeting. This is the open house. You guys have done this before. We have not any kind of organization. Just like
I have my mask somewhere. Hi, I'm Zane. I'm Zane. Zane. All right. Pause this.